People often think marriages break because of things like affairs, constant fighting, or just growing apart. But sometimes they end because of silence. I'm not talking about the quiet, comfortable silence between two people who know each other inside and out. I mean the other kind, the silence that slowly, almost invisibly, builds a wall between two people who once promised to be everything to each other. My husband and I were married for 11 years. Our life wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real, and it was steady. We were a team. We both worked hard, we encouraged each other's dreams, and we had one core promise: no secrets ever. We would face everything together. That was the foundation of our marriage, or so I thought. About 3 years ago, something shifted. My husband became completely consumed by investing. This wasn't the slow, careful, long-term kind of investing you read about. This was different. It was frantic, fueled by a mix of high-stakes adrenaline and a deep-seated desperation I hadn't seen in him before. Started with stocks, which seemed normal enough. But then it quickly escalated. He moved on to options. Then he was all about cryptocurrency, and before I knew it, he was chasing higher-risk startup deals he found online. His justification was always the same. He'd say, "I'm doing this for us. I want to build a better life for you and our daughter, a future where we never have to worry about money again." In the beginning, I tried to be supportive, pouring his energy into it, staying up late into the night, his face lit by the glow of his computer screen. He was constantly watching charts, reading dense financial reports, and talking about market trends I didn't understand. I admired his dedication, even if I didn't fully grasp the world he was entering. But then, the dedication began to curdle into obsession. The man I married started to disappear. He stopped sleeping, surviving on a few hours here and there. He stopped talking to me about his day, about our daughter, about us. Our conversations, which used to be the best part of my day, became one-sided. I'd talk, and he'd just nod, his eyes locked on the numbers flashing on his phone. It felt like he couldn't see anything else. He was physically present, but his mind was in a different world, a world of profits and losses that I wasn't a part of. The silence grew louder every day. The space between us on the couch felt like a canyon. I started to feel a creeping sense of dread, a feeling that we were heading towards a cliff he couldn't see. Then came the night that changed everything. He came to me, his eyes gleaming with an unnatural excitement. He told me he'd found it the ultimate opportunity. It was a private, invitation-only trading group that supposedly guaranteed massive returns. He said it was backed by industry insiders, that it was protected from risk, and that it was almost too good to be true. That last phrase sent a shiver down my spine. I tried to keep my voice steady, looked him in the eye, and asked the question that was screaming in my head: "How much are you planning to invest?" He hesitated. It was only for a second or two, but in that moment, I felt the ground shift beneath me. It was the kind of hesitation that holds a secret. Then he finally answered, $30,000. $30,000. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. This was money we absolutely could not afford to lose. It was earmarked for our mortgage renewal. It was our daughter's school tuition for the next year. It was our safety net. We argued for hours that night. It was the most intense fight of our entire marriage. I begged him, I pleaded with him not to do it. I laid out all the reasons: the mortgage, our daughter's education, the basic need to have funds to live on. I reminded him of our promise. No secrets, no huge risks without talking to each other first. But it was like talking to a brick wall. He just shook his head, his expression a mixture of frustration and disappointment. He looked at me as if I was the problem. And then he said the words that cut deeper than any argument about money could. "You do untrust me. You never have." The next morning I checked our joint bank account. The money was gone. For the first few weeks, it seemed like his gamble was paying off spectacularly. He would excitedly show me the dashboard of his trading account on his laptop. The numbers were climbing at a dizzying rate. 30,000 became 48,000, then 71, then over $100,000. It was showing over 230,000. He was euphoric. He walked around the house like a king, filled with a new, almost manic confidence. He started talking about the vacations we would take, the new car he was going to buy, how he could retire in a year. I tried to share his excitement, I really did, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. It all felt like a dream, fragile and unreal. I was living with a stranger who believed he had found a magic lamp. Then, one evening, the dream shattered. He opened his laptop, ready to check his ever-growing fortune. But, instead of the familiar charts and climbing numbers, his face went pale. He just froze. I walked over and looked at the screen. There were no graphs, no figures. Just a simple, cold message. Service unavailable. Please contact support. Of course, support never responded. The website went down. The emails bounced back. Access to the account vanished, and with it, so did the money. He tried to hide the full extent of the disaster at first. He kept pretending it was just a temporary glitch, a technical issue that would be sorted out soon. He'd say things like, "They're probably just updating the servers," but the days turned into a week, and the panicked look in his eyes grew more intense. Finally, I couldn't take the pretense anymore. I confronted him, and I forced him to tell me the truth. And the truth was so much worse than I could have ever imagined. The $30,000. It wasn't just $30,000. It was everything. He had liquidated all of our savings. He had taken the money we had set aside for our daughter's tuition. He had drained the account for our mortgage payments. He had emptied our emergency fund. Every last cent we had built together over 11 years. Gone. He had done it all behind my back, without a single word to me. As I stood there, reeling from the shock, trying to process the scale of his betrayal, he looked at me with tears in his eyes. And then he said the sentence that finally, irrevocably, destroyed us. I was doing it for us. Why can't you just be on my side? In that instant, I felt something inside me break. It wasn't anger anymore, and it wasn't just the pain of betrayal. It was a sudden, devastating realization. In his mind, I wasn't his partner. I wasn't part of us anymore. I was an obstacle to his fantasy, a naysayer he had to get around. I was a stranger living in his house. We tried to fix it. We really did. We went to therapy. We had endless circular conversations that went nowhere. We tried to pretend that things could go back to normal. But the foundation was gone. Every time I looked at him, I didn't see the man I married. I saw someone who chose a digital illusion over the real, breathing family standing right in front of him. The silence that had started with his obsession had now become a permanent, unbridgeable chasm between us. The night I finally packed my bags was quiet. He cried. He begged me to stay, promising he would change, swearing he would make it all back. Said his world was ending. But it wasn't about the money anymore. It had never really been just about the money. It was about the truth. He didn't just lose our savings in a scam. He had lost me long before that, in the late nights staring at charts, in the secrets he kept. In the moment he decided his dream was more important than our shared reality. As I walked out the door, holding my daughter's small hand tightly in mine, a painful clarity washed over me. People rarely admit this, but marriages don't just break when the money disappears. They break when trust does. And once that's gone, there's often nothing left that's worth saving. Thank you for listening.